Hi everyone, I'm Sarina Fazan, and we're continuing to cover the coronavirus crisis. Law and order must continue. In Hillsborough County, there is what's called mission-critical courtrooms. So what is that? I sit down with Judge Nick Nazaretian.
Everyone is touched by this in some way or another. I've never seen anything like this before. There are certain courtrooms down in Hillsborough County that our chief judge has designated to be mission critical, and those are essential to make sure services get provided in the criminal justice system. So it's extremely important. We have three basic concerns: the health of everyone, including the people that we see, the accused, the victims of crimes, but also the people that we work with. So the health is very, very important. It's paramount. Then we also have to make sure that the accused due process rights are followed, and we also need to make sure the victims' rights are followed. Access to the courts is key here. That's a guarantee that we give our citizens access to the courts, and it's extremely important that they know we are open. We're open for business, and that you still can get your day in court even though we're going through this pandemic. We've had to make some adjustments, but we've been very fortunate that the adjustments have been well received. Down here, I'm not the only person down here. There's a whole work group of people. You have people from the state attorney's office, the public defender's office, defense lawyers. You have the clerk's office, people from the jail, police officers coming to testify. So it's a whole group of people, and they've really meshed really well together during this time. And, quite frankly, I've heard hardly any complaints at all. Everyone's adjusting and realizing that we're going to get through this, and, it's hope for a better day. Typical docket would have 50 or 60 people on it, and most of the people that I would see in my courtroom were in jail waiting their pending charges. And in the olden days, as I call them, they were sitting right next to each other. And so obviously that changed. And now at the jail, when I see people, because that's what we're doing now, we're video, we'll call it video conferencing, but we're observing court from a courtroom that has the cameras at the jail to make sure we can see everyone's picture and see them through the video world. But we're also making sure, and the jail's doing a great job of keeping them apart from each other, the inmates apart from each other, at least 6 feet as we go through that, so that won't be an issue. I'm working in a courtroom now downtown that is used by 3 other judges sometimes, and we're constantly going through, when time's up for one, another one comes in there, and it's being used, basically, 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, right? So one of the things that we need to make sure we do is clean that courtroom and sanitize that courtroom often during the day. I actually bring my own stuff with me, and I clean before I start and during the time and afterwards, and we're all doing that to be conscious of each other, the judges coming in and out, but also the people that we work with, our clerk, our probation officer, the attorneys for the state attorney's office, the defense lawyers, and so everyone is in that room. And then what we've also been doing is limiting the number of attorneys that come in off the street. It used to be they would just wait in there and line up, but we do one at a time. And we've allowed, in some cases in my court, we need to talk to victims of crimes, and we're not even, we're allowing them to have access. We've got a special microphone set up for them, so they don't even have to come into the courtroom, but we can still see them and hear them, and the accused can see them and hear them. So it's really something, we've really taken every step to make sure that your day in court still is your day in court with a few adjustments. Right. Well, right now the Supreme Court has basically ordered some things to happen in April and May, and I don't believe that we're going to have an opportunity for jurors until June. And obviously that can change, and it's not my decision. But right now, that's probably the first possibility of having jurors come down here for trials is in June. And obviously, we have a lot of people waiting for trials and things like that. But we have to balance everyone's health and everyone's due process rights. But based on the orders that I've seen now from the Supreme Court of our state, I don't think that we're going to be doing jury trials I know we're not doing them in April, and we probably won't be doing them in May. I think June is probably the first time that we're going to look at, and of course that can get changed. serving a jury is the highest peacetime civic duty you can do for your community, and that's from Abraham Lincoln, by the way. And we encourage people to cooperate. Your court order to be down here for jury service. But as you point out, that there are some times that it is a challenge when it's a normal time, right? We hope and urge people to do their civic duty and honor their order to come to court for jury services, but clearly that's something that we're anticipating as being an issue and looking at and making sure that we can ensure their safety. And those, thankfully, are decisions outside above my pay grade, but those are decisions that we're going to be facing, and we're going to have to be dealing with that, because obviously as each month goes by, the cases aren't, some of them are getting resolved, but at some point there's going to be cases we're going to have to try, and at some point in time. I don't know when that's going to be, and we obviously want people to feel comfortable. We're asking them to come down and get back into the swing of jury trials, and of course we have to obviously realize they have their own lives too, and their own jobs, their own families, and getting back to their normal lives. So it is a big challenge. It's going to be a big challenge, but we have leaders in our county, Hillsborough County, that I think that I know that can handle that. And again, that's where that cooperation comes in. All these people working together, and I can't stress that enough. We're really fortunate in our county to have people that cooperate with each other through this tough time. So I've got 1,000% confidence it's going to work. It's just going to be a big challenge. We have judges that are working now to try and ease that from happening. And like I said, there's a few other courts that are running during this mission critical period. I'm not the only one. There's other judges working on cases, especially cases where people are in jail, to try and ease that jail population and to work these cases. So we are working, as I said earlier, and I think that we're doing enough to where it's not going to be some sort of a huge problem, but it is a challenge. We're going to have to really, prepare for it, and we're doing that now. The people are doing that, so I'm very confident we're going to be busy, I guess, for a while, right? Absolutely. But that's the way it is, and that's one of the challenges we're going to have to face. Well, they always have a choice on that, and that's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that. If someone wants a trial by the judge versus the jury, would they get a quicker trial? That's an interesting point. I've never really thought through that. But you would still have the mechanics of the witnesses being close, and I guess you could work something. That's an interesting thought. I've never really thought about that. There's obviously reasons people may want jury trials versus judge trials, and vice versa. So that's certainly interesting. I haven't seen that happen yet. If they delay jury trials, throughout the year, and we don't have jurors until next year, if that were to happen, hypothetically, you might see something like that. But that's interesting. That's a very good question. I haven't really thought about that. But you might have people requesting judge trials versus jury trials. There are, and obviously that was a huge concern I had when I first when this first started happening, because a lot of the people that I see are in jail, the accused are in jail, and again, when they were coming to court, we had to make some precautions. And now, since they're staying at the jail and we're videotaping the hearings, the jail's making certain precautions to ensure that they're safe, right? Because I said earlier, I started this whole thing that before we talk even about due process of accused or victims' rights, we got to make sure everyone's healthy. That's the paramount deal here in this whole project we're working on is people's health. So it's my understanding at the jail that all the jail personnel that are at the jail get tested, get their fever, if they have a fever or not, get their temperature taken before they start working. Anyone else that has to go to the jail, remember the jail has many employees, and they have different people besides just the people that are working with the inmates. So everyone, I understand, gets tested, gets their temperature taken before they come in. And there's also certain places at the jail that if someone is suspected of maybe being sick or having the COVID-19 situation, they can put them to isolate them from everyone else. But it's a huge challenge. There's no question about it, because you have a lot of people in a kind of a small area. So generally speaking, right? So it is a big challenge, and the sheriff, as far as I understand, is doing a good job. We're keeping everyone as healthy as possible. Well, I've had the opportunity on a daily basis to have court, throughout the weeks since this pandemic's been going on. And that was an initial concern I had, because you're asking people to stay together all the time. And it's a situation where I was expecting, I'm gladly it didn't happen. I was expecting a huge spike in domestic related type of offenses, but I have not really seen what I thought might happen, and which is a good thing. And it kind of goes to the fact that I guess people are getting used to this. I haven't really kept statistics, and I really haven't been seeing that any more than I saw it really before. Now we're 4 weeks into this, or 5 weeks into this. I hope that stays the same. But thankfully that has not happened. And I've seen predictors of things that when people are together all the time that could cause issues. But thankfully in our county, I have not seen that in a drastic increase. It's great news, because again, when you get people all together and then you add in economic strife, you add economic issues, loss of job, not being able to go outside, and all these other things that we're dealing with, that sometimes creates a lot of issues that we see in our courts on a daily basis. And thankfully, from what I have seen in my courts in the past 4 or 5, 6 weeks during this pandemic, I have not seen a huge increase in that situation, thankfully. So far so good, and hopefully we're getting to the backside of this situation, hopefully at some point soon. But so far, in our county, in the world that I live in the court system, everyone is cooperating, and we're getting along just fine. Now, obviously, it could be better, and it's going to be a lot better in the future. But right now, things are going pretty good under the circumstances. From a technology standpoint, and again, this is just an idea that might happen in the future. I'm not in a position of making these kind of decisions, but I could maybe see the use of video cameras, video taping of people, not bringing as many people to the courthouse in the future. I can maybe see that, because there's a lot of transportation that goes when we bring inmates to the court every day. And we're learning now there's other ways to communicate, other ways to do that. And the same in the other type of hearings in family and civil, with, things can sometimes be handled in a teleconference versus having everyone there. So that in and of itself, the movement of people, I think, is a big thing. Plus streamlining some things. Any system can be streamlined and get right to the point on certain issues. And, again, that's when we're going through all this stuff, this trauma, not trauma, but we're going all through this drama and everything that we're going through, right? If some of the time we spent, how's this going to make us better? It helps kind of relieve a little bit of the pressures and worries that we have with this, and to try to use this bad time to turn it into good time, good times later on. So that's something that we're trying to do. And as we go along with these steps, measure twice, cut once, and we make these decisions. But are they working and not working? Reacting to them very quickly, looking at feedback, but also capturing them for future use. Really one of the things that I've learned is the appreciation of what you have, and before all this happened, because there's a lot of people that are suffering economically, physically, obviously, with this, and it makes you just appreciate a little bit more what you have in your life, and it also it does, like you said, it touches human compassion and humanity, that we kind of come together helping everybody. Hope versus fear. Choose hope. Hope doesn't quit. Okay, choose hope over fear. It's very, very important, and it will get better. Things will get better. We'll be better for this, and I hope that everyone understands that and doesn't give up. Okay, because we're going to get through this, and we got this.
And there's so much more that I want to talk to Judge Nick Nazaretian about. That's why I've invited him onto my podcast. One of the topics, Zoom. Yes, the attire does matter in a virtual courtroom. Stay tuned.